All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
There's a port on a western bay, and it serves 100 ships a day. Lonely sailors pass the time away and talk about their homes. And there's a girl in this harbor town, and she works laying whiskey down. They say, Brandy, fetch another round. She serves them whiskey and wine. The sailors say, Brandy, you're a fine girl. What a good wife you would be. Such a fine girl. Your eyes could steal a sailor from the sea.
And welcome back to the X Zone. This is hour 2 of tonight's show, and we're coming to you on the X Zone Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, classic1220.ca. My guest this hour, well, I'm going to give you a little hint. That was Brandy by Looking Glass. And our guest this hour is Brandy Stark, and she is a good friend of the X Zone Nation. She's been investigating the paranormal for about 25 years now, and she founded the Spirits of St. Petersburg. She also has multiple degrees in which she studied the role of the supernatural and culture. Joining me now from St. Petersburg, Florida, is Brandy Stark, and welcome back, Brandy. Great having you with us.
Thank you. I love being on here.
You know, did you like the theme song we've designated for you?
That's actually where my parents got my name. Yeah, so it's the Looking Glass.
Yeah.
Oh, Lordy.
But
the irony is that I don't drink at all, and she's a bartender.
Oh.
So, Mom, what were you thinking? But, oh, well, what are you going to do?
Well, we have one more song for you before we go forward, okay? So this is from everyone listening tonight who doesn't have the opportunity to sing it with you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Happy
Thank
birthday,
you
Brandy.
so much. Thank you.
Ah.
Another year. So we'll see where this one takes us.
Another year of fun, excitement, thrills, challenges,
Yeah, for
headaches, and everything else that goes with it.
sure. But no more pugs. I hope anyway.
Aw.
The nice thing actually is, you kind of get nice and comfortable in your skin as you get older, and you stop taking so much from people, So yeah, I'm not that crazy cat lady yet, but I am that crazy pug lady, and it works out just fine. So,
Well, there you go. As you know, Brandy, I'm an animal lover, and this show definitely is animal friendly.
good, very good. Well, as I mentioned before, there was kind of a very unique opportunity, and there was an older couple who had a litter of pug puppies, and they were in a place called Floral City, Florida, which was so far away that I could not even find it on Waze. I mean, it got me to the city, but it couldn't find their address. It was crazy. But I ended up adopting 2 little girls from them. They were 4 months at that point. They're going on 7 months now. They are November 1st babies, so they're all Saints Days babies. And I'm like, well, you can't beat that. That's about as close to Halloween as I've ever gotten with a pug. And I ended up naming them Penthusula and Briseis.
Wow.
So, yeah. Penthusula was an Amazonian queen from the Iliad. She fought on the side of Troy, and Achilles fell in love with her. And then Briseis was, of course, the love interest of Achilles, who gets taken by Agamemnon. So, my poor pug pack now is, Patroclus and Penelope, Calypso, Neoptolemus, Ajax, Penthusula, and Briseis. So people are like, oh, okay. okay, well, they're cute anyway. I'm like, okay, thank you. But I'm hoping, actually, Perseus may have, or excuse me, these two are sisters, and they are definitely very bonded together. So I'm so glad I was able to get them together, except that it has made the household crazy. But I have been noticing that Penthusula, and her nickname is, of course, Penny, seems to have, a little bit of a unique attention span, in the sense that every night, or, well, I shouldn't say every night, but at least once or twice a week, I find her barking at my back room, and I don't know why. I have tried all sorts of things like lights on, lights off, doors open, doors closed. I've noticed if any other pets are up or asleep. I don't know what in the heck she sees back there, but I'm like, well, as long as it's staying in the back and not coming to the main house. But that would be interesting if she ends up being a paranormal pug. It'd be my first girl. So I'm keeping an eye on her, but she's still too young to be doing much yet.
Brandy, I have to ask you, how do you remember all the names?
Well, it's just like whenever you have kids, you always remember the names.
Oh, you put...
Although it is funny where there are days where when they're acting up, you go through all your age. No, Patroclus, you. There are days, but it's interesting to have the pug mindset. So they can be very, very good. They can be very, very bad, and when they are bad, it's like a contagion. They all become naughty. And there was one Saturday about a month and a half ago where I just thought I was gonna just crack, but we made it through, thank goodness. But it's funny because folks are like, "You're crazy," and I'm like, "No. Number one, 7 is the perfect number for a pug pack, for a grumble, and number two, I try to show people what they're like when they're asleep, and they're soft and warm, and they snore just a little bit, and it's like ASMR, and it's so relaxing. So I kind of figure, I'll just have to deal with them when they're awake." But it's worth it when they're asleep because they're little potatoes of sleepiness. It's very sweet.
The description you gave of your pugs when they sleep is the exact description that my wife says that I am when I'm asleep.
You snore softly as well.
Yes, I do.
Oh, good for you. Yes, the soft snoring is good. And it is. It's a form of like ASMR, relaxing when you sleep.
Yeah.
So it has been interesting, and of course it's always very unique to see how they turn out and their personalities. But I am kind of wondering about Penny, and we'll see. And I really wonder what the heck she's barking at in the back room. So, I mean, I'd understand if it was all the time, but I have not figured it out yet. So, I guess I should worry when they all start barking at the back room. Then maybe we'll all go out the front door. Come on, guys, time for a walk. Out we go.
That's it. You and I, who are pet owners and who understand that animals are very perceptive to what we cannot see, what we cannot hear, what we cannot smell, because they are that much more attuned to the different senses. So I'm sure there were people listening on the radio who have no idea what we were talking about, saying, what?
What are paranormal pugs?
Yeah.
So, just to give them a little backstory,
Okay.
Paranormal Pugs started about 2004, where when the internet was just kind of starting to seep out there and I could start finally building websites, and I wrote an essay that pugs being kind of artificially bred to be companion pets. I mean, these guys are not feral. If we were out in the forest, I think they'd lead me to the poison berries. I mean, they have no street sense whatsoever, but they are very designed to be companions.
Yeah.
So, and again, the only things I've ever found for them are foot warmers, flea attractors. They have sweet blood, so they get the fleas off the humans, and companionship. So when I wrote this essay and I put it up, people started actually sending me little paranormal pet stories, paranormal pug stories of their pugs interacting with something supernatural, or even seeing their pug as a ghost. And so I started the Paranormal Pets, this Paranormal Pugs page, and I actually got interviewed. That's how I started on Paranormal Pets. I was interviewed as a guest.
Brandy,
Yes.
I hate to interrupt you, but we've just got a news bulletin here from our newsroom. Former President Donald Trump has been found guilty on all charges in the hush money trial that just completed. So once again, Donald J. Trump, the former president of the United States, found guilty on all charges, all 34 charges. All right, let's get back to the pugs since we just got rid of. I can't go that way. No, we'll just go back to the pug stories.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm very quietly clapping over here. So happy birthday to me. Anyway, so the pugs have been, it's been a really interesting element. And starting with my very first pugs that I got as an adult, I had pugs my whole life. But Odyssey was my first boy that I raised entirely on my own, Iliad and Odyssey.
Right.
And he was my very first paranormal pug about 25 years ago. And of course, I have, rules that have to be met, has to be safe, nothing dark. They have to have permission to be there, have to be able to, not like drop the leash, like let them not go where they don't want to go, let them go where they want to go. And the pugs have a great time because for the most part, it's all about attention and everybody thinks they're so cute. But every now and again, they have really proved to be very valuable where they do seem to sense something. So I do not take them on many cases because they're also a handful. And because of their little breathing and snoring, they can really kind of mess up EVPs. But I don't know. I raise every generation and I try to look for the ones that appear to be really a little bit more astute, a little more aware. And in fact, Patroclus is my third generation paranormal pug, and Ajax and Neoptolemus are going to stay together, but they will be the fourth generation. And we're gonna see what Penny gets. But I have had some slight activity out in that area. From other pugs. I've been in this house 13 years.
Wow.
I mean, what an irony there. And so nothing hardcore. I don't know if it's something out in the yard, but I have had some abnormal behavior from pugs out there where they are barking at something that I sure can't see, but it doesn't seem to extend beyond that back room. So,
all right, Brandy, I hate to do this, my dear friend, but I have to take my first break, so please stand by.
Okay.
Exo Nation,
Absolutely.
just repeating the news from our newsroom. Donald Trump found guilty on all counts in hush money trial, and that makes him the first U.S. president convicted of a crime. Wow.
Sorry.
Even the
they're
pugs are
excited.
happy about that one. So there you go.
Yeah.
Brandy, stand by. You and I will be back on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network. Coming to you on your hometown radio, classic1220.ca. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Port on a western bay, and it serves 100 ships a day. Lonely sailors pass the time away and talk about their homes. And there's a girl in this harbor town, and she works laying whiskey down. They say, Brandy, fetch another round. She serves them whiskey and wine. The sailors say, Brandy.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Well, the party was nice, the party was pumping,
Hey, yeah. B.I.O.
and everybody having a ball
B.I.O.
until the fellas started name calling,
B.I.O.
and the girls respond to the call. I hear a poor one shout out,
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone, once again from the X Zone Broadcast Network newsroom and the Canadian News Network. Donald Trump found guilty on all counts in hush money trial. Verdict makes Trump the first U.S. president convicted of a crime. And this is the story from CBC Newsroom and our newsrooms. 12 jurors have found former U.S. President Donald Trump guilty on all counts in his hush money trial in New York, making him the first American president to be convicted of a felony. That's our breaking news, and if there are any more breaking details to the story, we will get them to you. If not, please listen to the X Zone Broadcast Network newscast for the story in full. Brandy Stark is our special guest. Her website is, are you ready for this one, X Zone Nation? I'm sure you are. spiritsofstpete.com. People don't realize how sensitive animals are, whether it's a dog, whether it's a cat. All animals have heightened sense. And I don't know if I told you this story or not, Brandy. We used to have our company, Relmar, did a lot of work for the SPCA. In fact, I was contracted as the Director of Communications. And my job was to bring the work that the SPCA did to the public, especially the inspectors, or as they're called in the United States, I believe it's investigators. We did the inspectors did a raid on a house in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, where it was a hoarding situation. There were over 300 cats in the house. Oof. So this turned into a giant-sized rescue, and a lot of us at the SPCA, because they didn't have that much space for all these cats, were asked, once they were checked by the veterinarian, if we would foster them. Mm-hmm. So, my wife and I, sure. So we took two. One was a black Persian Himalayan, and the other was a tan color ragdoll cat. And those are big cats. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Frankie used to love coming downstairs and sitting on the back of my chair when I did the show every night. And back then, the X Zone was on the Talkstar radio network, and we were on from 10 o'clock at night to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So I loved Frankie. I would whistle. He'd come running. I could teach him tricks, and he was just adorable. All of a sudden, he started nudging one spot in my neck, and he'd do this continuously. Mm-hmm. And a couple of, I'd say 2-3 months later, I felt a lump in there, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor said it was a growth, a tumor, and bang, the surgery was done, the tumor was taken off. But the cat knew the tumor was there before I did or the doctor did. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. That's not the first time I've heard that. I have a friend of mine who lives not too far from here. I was doing an art show, and she is a multi-time cancer survivor. And she said that she has a cat, and I guess the second time the cancer came back, the cat started, I think it was like smelling along her shoulder, like her shoulder to her armpit type area. Yeah. And just really seemed very insistent on this area. And so she went in for her CAT scan, and sure enough, the cancer had come back. So it was lymphatic. They took care of that. She had to go through chemo, and it came back one more time. And it's her cat that kept letting her know. Yep. So the next time the cat started doing this, she went right to the doctor, and sure enough, it had come back. She made it through the chemo, but she's had to really deal with this her whole life. But she very much attributes that cat to saving her life. And I don't know if pugs are that astute, but cats absolutely are.
Yeah, no, and I feel the same way that this lady did, because if it wouldn't have been for Frankie detecting this at an early stage, who knows? But anyway, right. Animals are fantastic, and I'm an animal lover, and
well, it's interesting because cats have been associated with healing and sorcery, going all the way back at least to ancient Egypt. Mm-hmm. So, I think cats are interesting in and of themselves, because whereas dogs are domesticated at least 10,000 BCE plus or minus, part of that whole Neolithic shift for humanity, cats don't get domesticated until about 3,000 BCE, and that's in part because humans were settling and we were growing and storing food, and of course stored food attracts rodents. And I am a rodent lover. I work with Florida Rat Rescuers Network. I have 8 girls and 2 boys in very much separate cages. Let me tell you, the girls are together, the boys are together. They're little monastic orders, but they can eat. And folks don't realize, rats can actually help to create famine. That's how much they eat. Yeah. So of course cats end up becoming more domesticated because cats had almost this mystical sense of being able to sense a rat. They can see in the dark really well, but they did help to control the rodent population. And the irony is that part of the reason the bubonic plague spread so quickly is that in Europe, there was a pope who hated cats and deemed them demonic and actually endorsed the killing of cats, which is terrible. And with the drop in number of felines, the rodent population increased. And so, it helped to actually spread some of the initial stages of the bubonic plague. The rest of it is up to humanity, because a lot of it was most likely like they think there was a pneumonia, a flu, and the bubonic plague all kind of piggybacking on each other. So it was like a triple pandemic. Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. So the idea that cats can sense cancer, I think, is quite significant. There was that cat in the nursing home some years ago who could sense who was going to die next.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, the theory is that they can perhaps smell the chemical changes. And then again, now cats are a little bit odd when it comes to the paranormal, because cats can be very strange creatures, and sometimes it's hard to tell if they're staring at a bug, a speck of dust, supernatural entity. It's a hard challenge some days. But the pugs are goofy enough that if they all start paying attention to one thing, I'm like, okay, I got to go see what this is right now, because it's something big. So they've actually, believe it or not, they've saved fish for me. I've had a couple of betas that have jumped their tank. And all of a sudden, I'll see these pugs in a circle, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I go to rush in and see what's going on, and I have saved that beta, a couple of these beta fishes. I now have a tank that has a cover, so there's no more jumping. But yeah, that's so I don't know, but that's awesome with the cats. So I do think that's a really, really interesting connection.
Yeah.
And of course, they do say that the purr hits a certain megahertz frequency that also
very calming,
speeds up healing. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised. Did you keep the cats? I can't foster. I'm a terrible foster, because I'm just they come here and I'm like, that's it. You're here now forever.
Well, you see, what happened was, once we had the cats in the house, well, before the nightfall, you fall in love with them.
That's
right?
it.
And I went back to the SPCA, and I was talking to one of the adoption counselors, and she said, "Hi, Rob. How are the two kittens doing?" And I said, "Well, we're going to keep them." She said, "Okay, that'll be $600."
Oh no! Oh dear.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It went.
How it works.
It went to a great cause. I have nothing but the highest respect for the SPCA, as well as any other rescue organizations. They go beyond and above to take care of these animals. And
you're quite correct.
Yeah, so it's a great cause, and if anybody would like to donate any money, or if you'd like to donate your time to a worthy cause, please contact your local animal shelter. They can always use the help. Brandy, for the listeners who may not have had the opportunity of listening to you the last time you were with us,
sure.
How did you get involved in the paranormal?
Well, I actually started, I loved the supernatural when I was a kid, and when I was in 5th grade, I read about Uri Geller. Just totally fascinated with these concepts. Of course, I am a Gen Xer, so we also kind of hit that millennialism. So with the rise of the turn of the 21st century coming up, there was this new interest in aliens and ghosts and the supernatural, the apocalypse, all that good stuff. But I used to read ghost books. I would read, and I am so old that it was like a mix. So it would be ghosts and the Loch Ness Monster, and aliens and camera photography, the supernatural photography. And I was so fascinated by it, but I was also terrified of it. I was very afraid to see a ghost. I had to stop. In high school, I was like, I can't do this. But when I hit college, I discovered the intellectual level. And if you can separate the intellectual from the emotive, now you do have to have a passion, but still an intellectual understanding and study of the role of ghosts in culture really helped bring me around to this phase of study. And in 1997, I think, I was starting to do my own investigations. I had found some paranormalists from the 70s and 80s who kind of became mentors. And I started reading, there was a book that eventually came out called The Tampa Bay Triangle, which talked about specific ghost stories in the Tampa Bay area. And as soon as I found that, I started looking at legends and getting other ghost stories. I did a talk at a gallery, because when I'm not doing everything else, I'm an artist. And it was a Halloween show, so they asked me to talk. And this couple came up afterwards, because I was at that point a graduate student and poor, as per usual. And they were retired engineers. They had a house inspection business. And so they had equipment, all the equipment that, they had the EMF meters and, the extensive cameras and all of the good stuff. So we kind of banded together and ended up forming the Spirits and becoming named in 2000. And I've been doing it ever since. So I've been very fortunate. I have a very good team. And in fact, I have one tech person who analyzes like frame by frame. So we just had a meeting the other night because somebody sent us this video from the Stanley House, and she's like, this isn't making sense because you see this is out of focus and this is in focus, and it looks like, so it was like an hour confab looking at frame by frame of this 1.5 minute video. But very dedicated folks, because of course, you really don't make that much money in the paranormal field. And I do believe that there's a certain level of service that comes with it,
Sure.
particularly for investigations. I mean, everybody should have the ability to contact someone if they are in trouble or in need or even curious. But keep your fingers crossed, because starting in June, so just a couple days away.
Brandy, I hate to do this to you again, but I've got to take my break. Bit of a cliffhanger here. We'll talk about what's happening in June when we come back with our dear friend Brandy Stark. And this is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. And once again, former President Donald Trump found guilty on all charges in the hush money trial. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
I see the dance people had a ball cause she Billy Fountains get out. Get back, Gruffy, bash Gruffy, get back, you flea infested mongrel.
How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is that doggy in the window? I do hope that doggy's for sale. I must take a trip to California and leave my poor sweetheart alone.
And welcome back. Brandy Stark is our special guest. We're talking about the paranormal. And the theme of tonight's show this hour, as you can tell, is puppies, dogs, pets, paranormal. No, Craig, this show is not going to the dogs. It's just a theme, pal. And Brandy, thanks for joining us. It's always a great pleasure talking to you. And you were talking about your team and how good they are. And I'd just like to, kind of give you kudos, because a team is only as good as their leader. And I've known you for a number of years now, and you are one of the best in the when it comes to the paranormal. So they've got you to thank, my dear.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We've worked very hard, and we really do try to kind of keep that positive image in the sense of not embellishing,
Right.
and being as truthful as possible. We did have. There are times where folks really want something to be paranormal, and we've had to say, listen, from what you have presented us, this is not supernatural. These videos are not paranormal. And there are times where folks really do get upset with that, because they do want the supernatural. But we really try to kind of weed out the supernatural from the natural. And it has been, I cannot believe it's been 25 years. I can't believe it's my birthday. Oh, what the heck, man. But this time just keeps going faster. I'm like, wait, didn't I just have one just the other week? But it's funny how quickly it goes.
Yes.
And I know this time, before when we talked, I had not done this yet, but I was actually invited to Des Moines, Iowa to do a talk on the supernatural. And then I did a talk on revenants and zombies. So that was kind of fun, the evolution.
Now, before we talk about Des Moines, I'd like you to bring us back to where you were. You see,
the pets.
We set up a cliffhanger, and we've got listeners saying, well, what happens in June?
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's right. That's right. My money. There we go. Got to get to that. I am hoping starting the second week of June, we are scheduled to start doing trolley tours. So the second Wednesday of the month, we will be doing trolley tours with the St. Pete Museum of History. And the fourth Fridays, I'm going to be doing walking tours. Now, I'm not expecting the walking tours to be doing a heck of a lot because this is Florida. It is summer, and today it was 93 degrees.
Oh, my goodness.
Awful. It is like walking through soup outside. So most of us are relegated inside. I am very curious this year to see if this is what happens again, because we sometimes get an uptick in the report of paranormal cases in the summer. And I think it's because people are kind of kept inside. This is like reverse winter, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so hot outside that they are inside and they're maybe more able to sense phenomenon. But yeah. So we'll see what the uptick is.
The fact that they're kept in because of the temperature outside and the increased paranormal activity, like you said, was probably because they're inside more often. But how did that relate to what happened during the COVID time?
COVID was so interesting, in part because we really couldn't, with the lockdown, we really weren't able to investigate as much. We had to find usually public areas. We had to space out. We had to have masks. And at that point, we actually set up video conferences as well, trying to kind of aid people, get the research done. I mean, we had to really alter our investigation techniques. And it was kind of interesting because I was shocked how many cases we were kind of able to resolve without fully having to go in to investigate, which was a surprise. But some of these, I think, probably had some natural explanations. I think they could have been some stress-induced elements or attention-seeking elements in there. But I do not, well, I take that back. My studio actually had a huge uptick in paranormal activity. And I think it's because the ghosts were lonely. And after we had kind of this spike in activity, then it was completely silent for a little while. And I still have this theory that perhaps if the location absorbed some of that energy from the living, if, because the artists weren't coming in and we weren't having our art walks and people were working from home, perhaps some of that energy dried up. Because the building really did get very, very quiet. But in the first year, there were probably 3 or 4 pretty strong incidents. And then as the lockdown kind of continued but began to fade out, the building got very quiet, very still. It's kind of like they used up that energy. And now it's back to normal, which is good. It's actually been pretty decent. I got so excited because I have a security camera in my studio, and finally, after years of nothing, the last video I got in there was from around the COVID time, and it was this odd little movement image in the studio. It's like 2 a.m, everything's off. And I finally got a video that popped up. You get the security alert, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was 2 a.m. And it turns out it was a moth. I don't even know how that got in there. I haven't been in the studio for days. Where did this come from? So I was very crushed, but it was but it was kind of fun because it also was something that we could put out on the Spirits like Facebook page,
Sure.
and social medias, and just say, hey, what do you think this is? We think we know, but what is your opinion? Because a lot of the videos now, people are catching up. They're getting a little more savvy on their knowledge of false positives, which is good. We saw the same thing happen around 2000 to probably 2008 or so with the digital cameras and the orb phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
Where a lot of those can be explained, and a lot of it was perhaps because people didn't fully understand the equipment, and it gained such mass popularity. And then, people kind of figured it out, and orbs aren't really sent in too much. But now I think we had a boom with the security cameras where folks, again, weren't 100% sure how they were working. They became very cheap, very popular, and we got a lot of videos that were really insects. We ruled out a lot of things, insects and dust, spiders, webs, but every now and again you do get this one video where you're like, well, I got nothing. I cannot explain this. So they're still quite valuable. But I was amazed how many people they were even joking, like, don't let it bug you. And I'm like, yep, you got it. So it was kind of neat. But again, we try to at least provide some of that education as well. And for the most part, people are pretty receptive, and I really appreciate that. So we're kind of we're not necessarily a group for everybody, but we really do try to reach out to everybody. There are some folks that just are so excited for the supernatural to be happening to them, but we've really tried to maintain that standard of we got these things that we can explain. And again, we've even said something like, just because what you've sent in does not offer proof of the paranormal doesn't mean we're discounting your experiences. It just means what you've sent doesn't meet those parameters. So it's been a very interesting line to kind of walk over the years, but we're doing it.
Now, tell us what happened in Des Moines on the investigation.
So I was so excited about this because I don't get to travel. I'm a caretaker. I have I've got the 7 pugs and I've got the 9 rats and dragons. So bearded dragons, I should say. So, I'm kind of stuck at home. Plus my mother is 80 and she lives next door. And
God bless her.
I am an only child. And man, oh day, if you thought your parents were clingy when you were young, just wait. Because she is just, oh my gosh, she doesn't like me to leave the house. I'm like, Mom, I have to work.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to pay for the pug food, I got to get out there. But I was there one night last year, and I was able to stay 2 nights this year. I think that might have been stretching it, but it was interesting because I don't get to do a lot of things like this anymore. So Des Moines, they hide their ghosts. I mean, I researched and looked everywhere. I asked people who lived there. I looked for a team. I was finding very little to nothing. And all of the spots that were mentioned, it's like the same 5 spots were in the city. Everything else was across the state. There was, nothing local. I was not going to rent a car for 2 days. So it was a little, I'm like, there's the cloud room at the Des Moines International Airport. I investigated that last year. I popped in this year, take a look around, but I'm there at the wrong time of year. So there's nothing that really happens. So, otherwise it's schools and colleges. And I'm like, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to get in there. They don't know who I am. And I would have to write for special permission and, so when I finally got up there, last year, nobody told me a single story. I was just, it was completely in the dark. So I'm like, okay, I'm a foreigner to the Midwest. I get it. But this year they started opening up and telling me their ghost stories. And I was like, from like the moment I landed, people started telling me their stories. And what really made me so happy is it turns out there is a mall called the Merle Hay Mall. So Merle Hay is a man. He was one of the first soldiers to die in World War I, possibly the first soldier. So there's a lot of things in Des Moines named after him. There's like Merle Hay Plaza and Merle Hay Plot and Merle Hay, like all over the place. There's like this huge stretch. So he's like one of their local heroes. I'm thinking, well, I haven't heard of too many haunted malls. And so it was so neat because throughout the stay, I would get little pieces of information from different people, primarily the employees at the hotel of all things. One person said, yeah, my mom used to work there. And when I was a kid, there's this basement area. And I'm like, I'm from Florida. What's a basement? We don't get those here. Sorry. But anyway, I'm like, oh,
in the rest of the world, it's that big hole that's under the house.
Yes. Yeah, we get a water table. That's it. So, and so he talked about, he was waiting for his mom after work and he heard singing and he went into this area that was a conference room that was located in the basement.
Yeah.
And he saw this group of women in a circle and they were singing. He said they were nuns. And he said, I didn't know what to make of it. I went to get my mom and we came back and there was nothing there. And it turns out that years ago, there was a monastic order that was here on the property. And then I started hearing a little bit about a fire. And then I heard about an old mall and a new mall and then a security guard who her husband owned the contract to that mall. And the people would report to her and her husband how they would see shadow figures moving through. And I thought, okay, so this is getting interesting.
Yeah.
And so it turns out the mall was only a mile away. And I was like, I'm just going to walk. And they're like, nope, there's no sidewalks, but we'll drive you there. And I'm like, okay. And understand, this is like a super short trip. So I'm like, I'm squeezing in a couple hours to get there. And it was more populated than our malls in Florida because they're dying here. But it was kind of weird to go to, first of all, Iowa. Secondly, because the Midwest, I'm like, I don't know how people live there. Take no offense, my Midwestern listeners, but I just, it's very quiet there. I even asked folks, I'm like,
Wow.
well, what do y'all do for fun? They're like, well, we just mostly work.
And play with their pugs.
That's it.
All right, Brandy, st by, dear. We've got to take our final break. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Brandy Stark. And Brandy's website is spiritsofstpete.com. And once again, Brandy, happy birthday to you today.
Thank you.
This is the X-Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We'll be back on the other side as we wrap up tonight's show here on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming classic1220.ca.
If he has a dog, he won't be lonesome.
I remember to this day the bright red Georgia clay and how it stuck to the tires after the summer rain. Willpower made that old car go. A woman's mind told me that's so. Oh, how I wish we were back on the road again. Me and you and a dog named Boo, traveling and living off the land. Me and you and a dog named Boo, how I love being a free man. Now I can still recall.
Brandy Stark is our special guest this hour, X-Zone, and Brandy is in St. Pete's, Florida. She's been investigating the paranormal for 25 years, and she is the founder of Spirits of St. Petersburg. She also has multiple academic degrees in which she has studied in the role of the paranormal, supernatural, and culture. And she's also the proud mom of a menagerie of animals, including 7 little pugs.
Yes.
Brandy, something that you and I were going to talk about are your paranormal courses.
Oh, yeah, before I forget that.
Yeah.
So, in fact, in June, I have one member of my team who is more of a spiritualist, and she is doing a table tipping class. So, that is totally new for us. So, it's a little bit different, but for folks that are interested in kind of seeing that physical mediumship, which tends to come a little bit more along the lines of the supernatural, spiritual element, we are doing that at Art Lofts, June 23rd, and there are still tickets available, but we are keeping it a small class so everybody can participate. I am currently working on a Paranormal Investigation 101 class, which will be hopefully online. We've actually gotten it started. I just need to sit still and try to build it up. And we are working on a Paranormal 101, 201 and 301. The idea being 101 gives you the basics. 201, we would have an investigation at a haunted location. And then 301 is the post-investigation, how to do research, how to go through your data to determine what is legit, what isn't, and archival research. So we have been working on those elements, and it's kind of exciting. I'm really looking forward to the Paranormal 101. I just have to. I have built classes from scratch as a professor, and it is very, very time consuming. And my team keeps saying, "Okay, you're trying to do too much. You know, that stuff needs to go in 201 and 301. You just want the basics." So they're kind of trying to keep me a little bit more curtailed, but I hope to have that up and running this summer. And we're very excited about that.
Well, you should be, because, this is what the paranormal needs is, in my opinion, structure. And there is none.
That's it. I really kind of wish I could do this through more of an accredited, university or college institution. But even there, where I have done some paranormal 101s, it's lifelong education. I mean, again, there's no real canon. It is a pseudoscience, but at least trying to give folks an idea on how to kind of weed through some of these things. Archival research is so incredibly valuable. In fact, we had a story that had been told to me about somebody who committed suicide on the steps of a local church that later the congregation had a split and the church was converted into a theater. They sold off the church to, it became the Palladium here. And it is supposed to be haunted by a woman in red, which I've heard plenty of stories and we've investigated, but there's a secondary presence there that seems to be male, does not want to communicate, just kind of doesn't really interact too directly. But I was thinking, well, hey, somebody told me the story that their grandfather knew somebody who had committed suicide on these steps. He had gotten divorced. This would have happened in the 40s. And we ended up doing kind of a really deep dive into the archives. And it turns out in the 1940s in St. Pete, tons of suicides. I don't know exactly what was going on here that so many people decided to end their lives, but it was apparently fairly turbulent, but nothing at this church, right? And it's so well done. I mean, they had, and I'm not saying like droves of people, but a pretty high number. It was a spike here. I'm assuming in part because Florida had kind of become overtaken by soldiers, and there's a lot of military training, a whole new group of people. I mean, I don't know. There were some divorce elements to some of these cases as well, but actually being able to say, okay, well, we're not finding that to be truthful here. There's another hotel that we've investigated where only one death has been documented, and it doesn't match at all with the reports that we have had. And so it was an 83-year-old woman, and when I've gone through and we've investigated with multiple different groups, they pick up a young man who's kind of harassing. So what in the heck, right? Yeah. So starting to do those deep archival digs is just so much fun. And of course, it's always kind of neat because my archivist will also, she's done like some research on my mother's house because mom's next door, and like found like a 1950s advertisement for it. And, she'll send little things like that. I'm like, oh, my mother's house was just a baby. It's so cute, right? So, because her house is a 45 and mine's a 47. So it's really kind of neat, but it also ties you into the urban legend, the myth, the idea that somebody might have heard something from someone else, and maybe there was a suicide at a church, but we haven't found that to be true either. So it's trying to kind of rule out some of those things. And then there are those cases where, and in fact, in my mother's house, there was a suicide, and she found the obituary for the individual, though it did not mention suicide, but it was disclosed to her, my mother, when she bought the house in the 90s. And it's kind of interesting because I only knew the last name, and with this obit, I got the first name with it. I'm happy to say that whatever was over there, because when I first was there, I felt really creepy in one part of the house, and that has faded. So I think everything is pretty calm over there at this point. But it's always very interesting when you actually, can connect those things together. So we're kind of trying to move forward with that. We tried to offer it in the spring, and there wasn't a lot of interest, but I am hoping maybe as the summer comes along and folks are like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? We can offer some nice indoor cool venues and we can actually do some of this because Florida, that's how it has become. Summer, I used to be able to walk in the afternoons in the summer, and now I have to wait until at least 9 o'clock for it to cool off enough to even go outside. It's crazy. So, kind of hopefully we'll get some interest there, and it'll swing around also to October. But we're trying to start a little bit early because October just gets to be so hectic and crazy.
Certainly.
But it has been really, really quite intriguing. So, speaking of that, since I'll finish my Des Moines story very quickly, but
okay.
I got to the mall. I was doing my investigation. It looked like kind of a modern 70s mall. I did get to interview some employees. I actually found the basement area, and I talked to some of the employees there, and they're like, yeah, it is very creepy. One woman said that she always felt like somebody was standing right behind her, and I said, well, what part of the mall? And she said, well, really all over the mall, but really in the basement area, which is now, by the way, a bowling alley. So let me tell you, you're not going to get any EVPs there. I can tell you that. But I did get to speak to one of the mechanics who said, when we are here after everything is shut down and we're fixing the equipment, we hear conversations going on and we cannot find the source. So tying all of this together, I did my own archival research on this particular mall, and it turns out that it was a monastic order until 1959. The monks and the nuns moved to a different building. They tore this building down, and they built an old mall, which was an outdoor mall, which they revamped in the late 70s. And there was a store called Yonkers. And Yonkers was I kind of like our Moss Brothers, I guess, here in St. Pete. It was a family-owned type department store, but at 9:30 in the morning on November 5th in 1978, a fire broke out. And what ended up happening was there was a water leak that leaked onto the electric wiring, but in this time of the year, at this time of the 70s, the wires were made out of something that when it caught on fire, it created a toxic and a corrosive gas. And the place lit up very quickly. There were 14 people in the building. Fortunately, it was before it was opened. But basically 5 survived and 9 died. I even found the obituaries of the people who died. It was considered to be Des Moines' worst disaster. And I'm like, well, I'm very sorry for your mall, but really this is, compared to Florida. Florida has all sorts of disasters, but it was still, it sounded very grim because the coroner, people were trying to escape and they passed out from choking on the gas. And the coroner actually had to identify some of the bodies by taking off the jewelry and coming out with it. That's how they did it at that point. It was so bad. And so ever since then, they rebuilt Yonkers. It was there until the mid 80s, and then obviously the mall has been converted several times since then, but that ghostly presence is still there. And to me that was so interesting because, one, it's a local tragedy, it's a local history, which is always very hard to read about, but 2, I was able to get all of these kind of disconnected stories, finally kind of figure out what order they would have gone into, and get to do some interviews with folks. Now, I did not bring a lot of equipment. It turns out that I was traveling on World Paranormal Day, and the Tampa International Airport pulled me aside because in my my carry-on luggage, I was like going really cheap, so I didn't check anything. I had an EMF meter, and they didn't know what it was. So they dug out this EMF meter from my carry-on bag. I'm like, oh, great, okay. Happily enough, the lady was like, I'm totally into that. And I gave her a spirits card, but I almost missed my plane for that.
Oh, my gosh.
But, I did not get a lot in the readings, but it was just, to me, this kind of felt like the old days where I was doing some of the investigations on my own, and you're kind of pulling together these little pieces of information, and then you find the archive story, and you can kind of tie it together, and you can get, everything from, 20 years ago to today, anyway, from people who've had experiences. So I really, really enjoyed that, and I was so pleased that people kind of opened up and talked to me a little bit.
Well, why wouldn't they? You're a nice lady to talk to.
Thank you. Well,
Brandy,
I wasn't sure.
Brandy, I hate to do this to you, my friend, but we must go for tonight. You will be back in the future, that is for sure. Once again, from everybody here in the X Zone Nation, happy birthday to you, and I hope that you have a very happy year. And just keep on doing what you're doing. You're appreciated, my friend.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You take care of yourself and have a good time.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye, Brandy. And X Zone Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Brandy Stark, spiritsofstpete.com. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we're here Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight on your hometown radio Classic 1220, streaming classic1220.ca. So until tomorrow night, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.